People who are not yet vaccinated at all will have to depend on remote access to these gatherings. So from the second week of September, people may not be allowed to worship in churches and mosques without showing proof of their vaccination cards at the gates. Similarly, people will not be allowed to event centers for parties or receptions without showing proof of their vaccination cards at the gates of these occasions. We have made adequate arrangements with security to prevent anybody who does not have a vaccination card from accessing any of these events. Also, you will not be allowed to access banking services in Edo State from the middle of September if you have not been vaccinated.
So, there you have it. The sitting governor of Edo State, a state in Nigeria, is out there dishing out orders that I would best describe as draconian totalitarian orders over vaccination. So in case you didn't quite understand what he was saying, the man was saying clearly that from the second week in September, mid-September 2021, every single person who lives in Edo State would have to provide or present a proof of their vaccination before they could ever access their worship centers like churches, mosques, or even access banking services. And they have made arrangements with the security operatives to enforce these laws. Compulsory vaccination 101 in Edo State. Did we warn that stuff like this would happen or not? We did. Now in Edo State, if this was not challenged in court, because it was, what this man was planning to do is to make sure that if you didn't have your vaccination proof, you were going to stay at home and depend on remote access to all these things that make our lives worth living. People go to church all the time, or they go to mosque, or they go to shopping malls, or they attend weddings or events and stuff like that. You can no longer do that under this draconian law if you did not have a proof of your vaccination. Now, my question is, what happens to all those exceptions that come with taking the jab? There is that thing that we call religious exception. You can look it up. There is something like that. What happened to that? What about exceptions on health grounds? What about people who say, I don't want to take the vaccine because of my religious belief? What about people who say, no, because of the precarious health condition that I have been suffering from for so long, I may not be able to take the vaccine. It's going to make it worse. What happened to those things, those people who will say, for this reason or that reason, I actually cannot take the vaccine? And these are not made up reasons. These are viable reasons why they can't take the vaccine. So you make a law and you don't give people any option. You don't give them a plan B. You just say, you must do it. Tell me if this is not the finest version of communistic, totalitarian, draconian regime that there is anywhere on earth. And we are talking about Africa. This is not China. This is Africa, Nigeria. And here's the question, because you know I always like to ask pertinent questions. I don't come with my own ideas. I just want to ask questions on behalf of the many people who may not be able to ask those questions on their own. My question is this. Truth be told, we've seen people who die from COVID-19. We've seen people who suffer from COVID-19. I mean, come on. Are you going to gainsay that? There's no gainsaying it. We know. And truth be told, this is not the first time that Africa has come to deal with stuff like COVID-19. Africa has been dealing with viruses and diseases longer than I have been alive. We know that. But my question here is hunger not a more dangerous and devastating and daring killer than COVID-19 as of today? Is hunger not as infectious as it is contagious? What is it that has happened to our African leaders that we are kowtowing to all these things and we are not asking the right questions? People have been asking too many questions about COVID-19 vaccine and the virus itself. Nobody is making any effort to answer all these questions. They simply just come out and label conspiracy theory. And you expect that everybody should just go home and sleep. You are literally telling us to lose our humanity by not asking objective questions. If we don't understand something, can't we ask questions? As leaders, can't you give us answers rather than telling us to shut up and just fall in line and do what you want us to do? Governor Obaseki, you and your co-travelers, and even the federal agencies, can you guys beat your chest and say, yes, we've done a fantastic job of explaining to our people or answering the questions that our people have over these issues relating to the vaccine and the virus? Can you do that? What stops a those state government or any other government for that matter from saying, as from the middle of September, anybody we find trying to access banking services or access worship centers without going to get enough food to eat or in empty stomach, we will ban you from accessing those places. You can no longer access banking services or your worship centers or attend events or go to a wedding party if you have not eaten enough food. What stops the governor or anyone like him from doing that? Knowing that hunger is the greatest killer on the continent of Africa, and more so in Nigeria. Nigeria recently became the poverty capital of the world. What does that tell you? That arguably there are more hungry people in Nigeria than almost any other place on earth. What happens to taking care of that situation? When have we lived to see the government make mandatory rules or mandates that everybody must eat so that we can be healthy? What has the government done about dietary solutions to keep our immune system boosted so that we don't die if the government really doesn't want us to die? During the COVID-19 situation, even when people donated money and foodstuff and said, go and feed people who are hungry because of COVID-19 lockdown, the same government that is today coming to force people to take vaccine actually hoarded the food. The palliatives that were given for the people, and this is actually the real vaccine that our people needed. Those palliatives are the best, the most effective vaccine that you can ever find on the continent of Africa. That same vaccine was hidden in warehouses and kept to be used for election campaign by wicked, heartless leaders in Nigeria. But you want to force the same people you starved during COVID-19 lockdown, you want to force them to take vaccines that they have questions over. Who would have had any questions over the palliatives? You cannot bring food to a hungry man and he'll be asking you, yes, what is the make? When is it taxed? Nobody would have asked that question. They would have taken and eaten a hungry man's. The answer to a hungry man alone is just food. But we don't care. You don't want us to transmit the COVID-19 disease to other people. That's why you want everybody to be vaccinated, whether they like it or not. Compulsory vaccination. Well, let me read you something. You know, several months ago when the news started showing up on internet, different doctors, medical professionals of conscience started coming out saying, oh, we need to be careful because even this vaccine, when you take it, you can still transmit the disease to someone else. You know, it still doesn't mean that you are clear, that you are out of the woods and all of that. Many people came after them. All the websites, all the accounts, social media accounts of the doctors that did this have been shut down. Facebook, YouTube, they say you are misleading the public. You want people to die. This is conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory is very dangerous. Let me read you today, finally. World Health Organization's page on Facebook has come out. They made the post. I am not making this up. I'm going to read it to you. Even after getting vaccinated, keep taking precautions to protect yourself, family, and friends. Now, look at the real kicker here. The COVID-19 vaccine is highly effective, but a small percentage of people will still get ill from COVID-19 even after vaccination. It hasn't stopped there. It goes for